Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. Today, we step into one of the most difficult moments in Dee's life. Dee is selling the house to divide the property with his ex-wife, and Huyen and little Maya are left without a place to call home. As the keys change hands and the familiar walls fade into memory, Dee's heart feels heavier than ever, not for the bricks and wood, but for the sight of Huyen and Maya stepping into days of uncertainty. Every step they take away from that door feels like a piece of warmth slipping from their lives. And yet, somewhere in this emptiness, a small flame of hope still flickers, because even without a house, they still have each other. The late afternoon sun poured a golden light over the small countryside home, casting long shadows on the garden fence that Dee had once repaired with his own hands. It was the house where laughter had echoed in the evenings, where the scent of Huyen's cooking drifted from the kitchen, and where little Maya's footsteps danced across the floor. But now, it stood on the edge of goodbye. Dee leaned against the wooden doorframe, his eyes scanning the familiar walls as if memorizing every crack and mark. He had just returned from the notary's office. The papers were signed. The house would be sold, and the money divided with his ex-wife. It was the only way to end the legal ties that had hung over him for years. Yet, with every step toward freedom, he felt as if he were pulling away from the life he had built with Huyen and Maya. Inside, Huyen packed their belongings into 2 small suitcases. She moved slowly, her hands lingering on each item, folding Maya's clothes, wrapping bowls and cups, tucking away the worn blanket that had kept them warm on cold nights. Maya sat quietly on the floor, her favorite doll clutched in her arms, watching her mother without fully understanding why their home was disappearing around them. "Where will we go, Uncle Dee?" Maya finally asked, her voice soft. Dee swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "We'll find somewhere safe, sweetheart. I promise." But inside, his heart ached. Selling the house meant they had no place to return to tonight, no roof that was truly theirs. He thought of the nights they had sat together on the porch, talking about planting flowers and vegetables in the spring. Those dreams now felt like they had been washed away by the heavy rains of reality. When the last box was closed, they stepped outside. The door creaked shut behind them, and Dee turned the key one final time. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the air heavy with unspoken feelings. Then Huyen took Maya's hand, and together they began walking down the dirt road, leaving behind the house that had been both a shelter and a witness to their struggles. Dee followed a step behind, his eyes never leaving their small figures. He could endure losing a house, but the thought of Huyen and Maya wandering without a home tore at his heart. That night, as they stayed temporarily in a neighbor's spare room, Dee lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The only thought that kept him from despair was a quiet vow. He would work harder than ever, save every coin, and one day build them a home where no one could take away their peace again. The road ahead would be long, but he knew this: he could not fail them. The first night after leaving their home was the hardest. They stayed in a neighbor's small spare room just for walls, a dim light bulb, and thin mats laid on the floor. Maya lay between Dee and Huyen, her small hand resting on her mother's arm, her eyes wide open in the dark. "Mommy, When will we go back to our house? She whispered. Huyen stroked her daughter's hair, forcing her voice to stay calm. We will have a new house one day, my love. And it will be even more beautiful. But inside, her chest tightened. She didn't know when that day would come. The next morning, they woke early. Huyen made tea on a borrowed stove, while Dee stepped outside to breathe in the cool air. He looked at the distant hills, his mind already racing with plans. Where they could rent temporarily, how much he needed to earn each month, and what kind of work would give him enough to start again. That afternoon, they went to the market to sell fruit they had bought from a farmer at a discount. The sun was hot, the road long, but they kept walking. If we can earn something every day, Dee said, we'll save faster. Huyen nodded, adjusting the basket on her shoulder. She had learned to hide her fatigue behind a smile. In the market, customers came and went. Some haggled over prices, some passed by without stopping. Yet by the end of the day, they had sold most of their fruit. It wasn't much money, but it was enough for dinner and a little to set aside. That night, back in the small room, Maya sat on the mat eating rice and boiled vegetables. This is yummy, she said, grinning. Huyen and Dee exchanged a glance. Her innocence was both a comfort and a reminder of why they couldn't give up. Before sleeping, Dee whispered to Huyen, it's only for now. I'll find a way for us to have a real home again. His voice was quiet but steady, carrying a promise stronger than the walls they had lost. Huyen nodded in the dark. I believe you. And though they had no house to call their own, they still had each other, and that was enough to keep walking forward. 2 weeks passed before Dee finally found a place they could rent. It wasn't much, a small, rundown hut at the edge of the village, half hidden behind overgrown bushes. The roof sagged in places, the bamboo walls were weathered and thin, and the floor creaked underfoot. But it was cheap, and most importantly, it was theirs for now. When they first stepped inside, the air smelled of damp wood and dust. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the walls, falling in thin, uneven lines across the floor. Maya wrinkled her nose. It's a little dark, she said quietly. Huyen crouched down beside her, smiling gently. Yes, but we can make it bright. You'll see. That afternoon, they began cleaning. Dee swept away piles of dried leaves that had blown in through the open doorway. Huyen scrubbed the bamboo mats until they smelled fresh again. Maya gathered wildflowers from outside and placed them in an empty jar on the windowsill. Slowly, the hut began to change, not perfect, but warmer, more alive. By evening, they laid out their mats in the corner, stacked their few belongings neatly, and lit a small oil lamp. The golden glow filled the room, chasing away the shadows. This will be our home for now, Dee said as they sat down to eat a simple dinner of rice, eggs, and boiled greens. We'll take care of it, and one day, we'll have a place we can build ourselves. Maya leaned against him, her eyelids heavy with sleep. Can we plant flowers here, Uncle Dee? He smiled. Of course we can. That night, the rain came soft at first, then heavy. The roof leaked into places, and they had to place pots beneath the drips. But even as the rain fell, Huyen felt something she hadn't in weeks. a quiet sense of safety. They might still be poor, the road ahead still uncertain, but they were under the same roof, together. As she lay listening to the rain, she realized something. Home was not only the walls around them, but the hands they held onto when the storms came. Dee and Huyen's journey teaches us that a home is not defined by walls, roofs, or the size of the land. It is built from love, resilience, and the courage to start over. When they lost their house, they did not lose each other. Even in the smallest, most fragile space, they found ways to create warmth. A few flowers in a jar, the laughter of a child, the shared work of cleaning and repairing. These became the bricks and beams of their new life. Life will sometimes take away what we have worked hard for. It will test us with storms, losses, and moments when we have nowhere to return to. But as Dee and Huyen showed, what matters most is how we choose to respond. We can surrender to despair, or we can rise, step by step, carrying hope like a lamp in the dark. The greatest wealth we can possess is not property, but the people who stand beside us in difficult times. A safe roof can shelter the body, but love and unity are what shelter the heart. So, when life feels uncertain, remember this: a true home can be built anywhere, as long as there is trust, care, and determination to face tomorrow together. In our own lives, we may not face the exact struggles that Dee and Huyen went through, but we all encounter moments when the things we depend on, our plans, our stability, even our homes, can be shaken. A sudden change in work, a financial setback, or an unexpected loss can leave us feeling as though the ground beneath our feet has disappeared. When that happens, it's easy to focus on what we've lost. But the truth is, just like Dee and Huyen, we can begin again, even from the smallest starting point. A temporary room, a rented space, or a modest corner can still be transformed into a place of warmth if we pour our love and effort into it. This lesson reminds us to value people over possessions. Walls may crumble, but relationships built on kindness, trust, and mutual support can hold us together when everything else seems uncertain. In practical terms, it means investing time in those we care about, building a network of friends and family we can lean on, and keeping our hearts open even when life feels heavy. It also means taking small, consistent steps toward rebuilding. Start by cleaning the space you have. Add small touches: a plant, a family photo, a corner for shared meals. These acts not only improve your surroundings but also renew your spirit. With time, those little efforts accumulate, just as they did for Dee and Huyen, until one day you look around and realize you've created a home again. In the end, the story is a reminder for all of us. No matter where we are, we have the power to rebuild, to plant hope, and to make even the humblest shelter feel like a place of belonging.